Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, here on a beautiful Wednesday evening, the 23rd of August, 2023. Good evening to the beautiful people here on the island of Nevis, those on our equally beautiful sister St. Kitts, and those who are listening all across the Caribbean, indeed all across the world. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you again, and I hope that tonight we can have a good conversation. I know that many are currently watching their television screens because the Patriots, St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, are playing in the Caribbean Premier League in Warner Park against the Jamaica Tallawahs, and of course we're all rooting for our Patriots. We wish them all the very best. But it's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays from 8 to 10, we know that this is where we are with a conversation. It is a conversation that has been ongoing for a decade and a half. It's a conversation that we think is an important conversation. And so for those out there who are listening, maybe some are tuning for the first time, others tune in regularly, we thank all of you for being part of the show this evening. As always, I start by putting a few issues on the table, and then I open the lines, and thereafter the show becomes yours. I'm hopeful that when I do open the lines, that people will take the opportunity to call in and to hear their views on a number of matters. Let me start, ladies and gentlemen, by reminding the general public that tomorrow, Thursday, 24th of August, we will have a sit-in of the Nevis Island Assembly. And at that sit-in, we'll discuss a number of matters. We're asking you to tune in. That starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It is a commitment that we made to have more frequent sit-ins of the Assembly. In fact, when we campaigned, we said that we would seek to have the Assembly meet at least once every 2 months. That has not always been the case, but we assure you that we're trying very much to play catch-up and to ensure that the members who have been elected across the 5 constituencies and those who have been nominated, that they have an opportunity to air their views and to report to you on what we have been doing, to report to our constituents, but also, of course, to weigh in on bills and other measures that are before the Parliament. And so we hope to continue that rich tradition tomorrow. It's part of our democratic process, and we invite one and all to be a part of that and to tune in or to come to the Assembly and to sit in at some point tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. So we look forward very much to that sit-in tomorrow and to discuss matters that are germane to the people of Nevis. At the top of the show, I often extend congratulations and or condolences to persons who might be dealing with something. And I think that the entire nation was rocked today by the very, very tragic news of the sudden passing of one of our young attorneys here, a young lady by the name of Sharina Laws. I know her family, and I would just want to take the opportunity to express my deep, deep condolences to her family and those who mourn. I am told that she had a young child, only 5 years old, and so it's a tragic situation. It's a tragic loss for the legal fraternity to have lost a lawyer so young. It is also a tragic loss for her family, and I extend my deepest condolences to her parents, her siblings, to Dr. Laws, our CMO, who and I had become quite good friends in terms of engagement during the COVID-19 pandemic. Her sister, Sherez Laws in Canada, who has been a friend of mine for as long as I can remember, her mom, dad, her other siblings. I really just want to express my deepest condolences on the loss to the family, the loss to the legal fraternity, the loss to the Federation. It is, there are no words that I can use. I think that they say in the midst of life there is death, and that is true. And from the moment we're born, we start to die. Nevertheless, notwithstanding that we all say it is our inevitable end, none of us is really ready. None of us really wants to die. And when it happens, especially when it happens suddenly, and people are taken really in the prime of their lives, then the questions linger as to why, and why me, and why did this happen? And we certainly don't have the answers. It is said that it is God's plan, and it is not for man to understand God's plan. It is my hope, however, that your family will have some comfort knowing that others are thinking about the tragic circumstances, and others are sending prayers and love and good wishes to the entire family. So on behalf of all of us here On the Mark and on Vaughan Radio, I extend my deepest condolences. I know that there's some members of the family who listen to the show, because I do get feedback from time to time, and so I really hope that these words of condolence will reach your ears, uttered as they are with utmost sincerity and on behalf of all of us here at On The Mark. Let me also take the opportunity to express condolences to others who might also be mourning, to express my heartfelt concern for those who might be hospitalized or struggling in some way. On that note, let me express much joy, the fact that my friend Zumbai the guy as he's known, a cultural icon here in Nevis, was hospitalized, that he's now home with his family. And I'm just hopeful that others out there who might be dealing with health struggles, might be dealing with other struggles, that you understand that our thoughts are with you. It is always difficult to endure one's struggles, but always I think it's made better when we know that people out there actually care. And I have always said that it's important as a community that we care about each other, that we try to be kind and gentler to each other. Sometimes that gets lost in the cut and thrust and the back and forth of our politics, but ultimately I think the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are decent people. I think the vast majority of us care about each other, that we seek to do things to lift up each other, and I would want that to continue. Sometimes the minority makes the most noise, but I have said to ignore the noise. Let us work together, people of goodwill, to uplift each other, to raise up each other, to praise each other, to comfort each other, to be there for each other, to be our brother's keeper and our sister's helper. Let us continue to foster and develop that kind of society, because I think it is important as we develop as a nation. This year we celebrate 40 years of independence on the 19th of September. It is important that as our nation develops, so too will our people. And that kindness, generosity, and that spirit of goodwill will pervade all that we do as a country and as a people. Be kind to your neighbors, be kind to your family members, be kind to each other. It is important that we live our lives in a way that demonstrates that we care about each other. And so I extend my best wishes to all of those who find themselves in some difficulty this evening. Let me move from that note of sadness to a note of great joy. I want to take the opportunity to say happy birthday to my daughter Gabriella, and to all of those who are celebrating birthdays today. Gabriella, my second child, my last child I should say, and second child, is celebrating today. She has recently moved back home from the UK after being abroad for nearly 6 years. In fact, just over 6 years. She started her studies abroad. She's now back, and we're truly grateful to have her back. Gabby, if you're listening, happy birthday to you. And for all of those celebrating today, happy birthday to you as well. If you're having an anniversary, happy anniversary. I just celebrated this weekend 29 years of marriage. I want to thank my wife, Sharon Brantley. Somebody said to me that she deserves a medal for putting up with me for so long. Well, if that is the case, then thank her. I hope she gets that medal soon. But certainly 29 years, it's a long time, and I hope that we can endure another 29 and another 29 after that, that we can last, as the preacher told us, till death do us part. And to do that, we certainly have to put in the work. And so I certainly enjoyed our celebration. I enjoyed the fact that we were able to celebrate. And in fact, we celebrated with our 2 children. And so it was a bit of a family celebration. And I'm really grateful for that. And so I express thank you publicly for all of those who sent congratulations, all of those who sent good wishes. I truly, truly appreciate it. So on behalf of my family, I say thank you. Thank you. When I see this, I know that there is tremendous kindness in our community. And that is what I talk about when I talk about us being kind. And so thank you very much for that, and we certainly look forward to continued love, continued support, continued goodwill in our community and in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, there's quite a bit that's happening, and let me get to a bit of it early in the show. I want to first of all extend thank you to Prime Minister Drew and the federal cabinet. They have come up with a back-to-school package for our students and, of course, their parents, to provide some relief. And I believe there's a $250 voucher that has to be applied for, but certainly is now available as of the 24th of August. And that will run through the period to take our children back to school. I'm encouraging, of course, those who have children and do have the need to go through the process and to seek to apply. These are some programs that are certainly designed to make people's lives a bit better. Governments the world over continue to try to invest in their people, try to assist. And I believe that the Labour government in St. Kitts has come up with various initiatives. This is one of them. We reached out, seeing that that initiative was announced. We were given a heads up by the federal government that this is what they propose to do. And we reached out, and the program will be national in nature. That is, it will extend to students on St. Kitts and to students on Nevis. And so we're grateful for that. Of course, the two governments collaborate to a great extent on matters that are impacting and impactful for both islands. We engage and have tried to engage responsibly with each other, and the programs such as these, which bring some benefit, are intended to benefit all of the children in the Federation. And so we say thank you for that initiative. Thank you to the Prime Minister and his cabinet. I believe that all families who will get some relief for back to school should be thankful that the government on St. Kitts and on Nevis continues in this vein to seek to do what is possible to look out for our people. And so we look forward to those applications and to them being processed in due course. And I believe that the public should look for more information and seek out additional information in terms of how they might be able to benefit. This, as far as I'm aware, is the first time that we've had a wholesale, wide-scale program such as this. And it is my hope that families see it in the light that it is. It is, of course, a special time in the Federation, independence. It will come 40th anniversary, just as our people are going back to school. And you know, I think that it's an important initiative. I believe independence comes just shortly after schools reopen. And so, again, we register our gratitude that these policies are national in nature and have, of course, been extended to the students and families in Nevis as well as on St. Kitts. We feel that in many respects, when there are national initiatives, that indeed they should benefit both islands, and that has been the case here. And so again, we're grateful for that level of collaboration. Speaking of independence, we celebrate Independence 40. We have a packed calendar of activities this year, and we're doing things with a difference. In fact, the cabinet in Nevis was briefed just today by the committee members. There is a national committee that has been put together representing persons from St. Kitts and some representation from Nevis, and we're briefed just today. One of the innovations, if you will, is that we will celebrate and do the marches and the entire ceremony surrounding independence. It will be done at night this year, and that is an innovation to celebrate the 40th anniversary. I believe on St. Kitts it is slated to happen on the 18th of September, so that it will go, my understanding at this point, into midnight, which will mark the precise moment at which we achieve 40 years of independence. And then on Nevis, my understanding that it will happen on the 19th, which is Independence Day, in the evening as well. And so what we are hoping can happen is that we can, of course, be under the lights, and it's a bit cooler. And I'm starting from now to ask all of our people to come out. We know that Independence time, some people sometimes can't be bothered, they don't come out, or they prefer to stay at home and watch on TV. I want us to have a good showing for our Independence 40. It is a significant milestone. I don't care where you stand politically, who you support or who you don't support. This is about our country. And politicians come and go, political parties come and go, leaders come and go, but at the end of the day, this is our country. And I believe that it behooves all of us to participate, to show our support. So whether it's you want to wave your flag or wear your national colors, you want to come and attend, we anticipate that it will be a lively ceremony at Warner Park in St. Kitts. I anticipate that's where it will be, and then in Nevis at the ETW Park in Nevis. And we expect to have a parade like we've not had before. We know that we have some, we intend to have some visiting dignitaries, even I am told a cohort of marchers and military from overseas, from elsewhere. And we really want to have a really good showing for our Independence 40. For the business houses out there, the private sector, I'm calling on all of you, TDC, Rams, Best Buy, Value Mart, Hosfords, all of the business houses, large and small. I want you to, dress up your buildings, dress up your businesses. Let us really get into the festive spirit of independence, and let us exude that Kiddishan and Nivision pride of country above self. All of our schools, our school children. I look at other islands and countries in the Caribbean. Grenada comes to mind, because when it's independence in Grenada, oh my, the place is festooned with colors of the Grenadian flag. The children, from the smallest to the older ones, the adults, everybody's dressed in national colors, national dress, national wear, and you can see the pride that they have as Grenadians. I want to see us do the same here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let us really put out our best effort for independence, and that we can definitely make it great this year to celebrate our 40 years. It has not been a perfect journey, but I believe on balance we have much to be grateful for. We have made some giant strides as a nation, and in all of this, God has been good to us. And so we must give thanks, we must give praise where it is due. We must thank all of those who went before. Some are not with us anymore, but they paved the way for much of what we now enjoy. And sometimes we take a lot of the strides that we've made and what we enjoy, we take it for granted. Let us be grateful, because God has blessed us abundantly in these 40 years. The life that we knew 40 years ago no longer exists in Nevis and St. Kitts. Things have improved dramatically in this island and in this country, and I would want us to be grateful for that. That for me is not a political statement. It is a statement of fact. And so I encourage one and all to come out and get involved. Government, opposition, it really doesn't matter. This is our country. Nevis is our island. St. Kitts and Nevis is our country. Let us engage. Let us come out. Let us support. I believe that that is truly important as we move forward. Last week, ladies and gentlemen, I was very proud to make the announcement that this government is honoring a commitment that the party made when we campaigned to our parents who are seeking assistance in terms of daycare, and that those who need will be assisted. We have rolled out a program. I believe that the official ceremony shall come shortly. The responsible minister, the Honorable General Nisbet, she will lead that program through her ministry. But it was a program that went through various discussions, and as I indicated last week, what we had originally intended to do was to build a government-run daycare center. Madam Minister and her team would have consulted and came back with a proposal that rather than doing that, what we should do is to partner with existing daycare centers and provide support through vouchers to those families that need that support. And we felt that that was a better idea, because it means therefore that we will not be competing with the privately run daycare centers, but rather supporting them. And I'm told that a meeting occurred with some 12 or so daycare center operators, and that they understood what we were seeking to do, and that they are on board with the government in that regard. The beneficiaries will be families who have children 0 to 3 years old. That is the target group, and it is up to $300 per month. It is not intended to be, of course, a wholesale assumption by the government of your cost of childcare, but it is intended to provide some relief, particularly to those mothers who are single mothers and have children and who need that relief. And I feel particularly proud, as I said last week, and I will say it again this week, that that initiative came out of a meeting that I had with constituents in Hamilton. And a young woman came and she made the case passionately about the cost of childcare, what her pay is, and how difficult it has been for her and others like her to put their children in childcare so that they can go to work. It is, for me, a proud moment. It is proud because it is demonstrative of what happens when you have leaders that are prepared to listen. A lot of times people get elected, and the minute that they get elected, they become experts in everything. They know everything. They understand everything. Leadership, however, should be willing to listen. And only leadership that is humble and understands what leadership should be, that is willing to listen. And it's demonstrative, this policy, that brilliant ideas come from all walks of the society and all segments of the community. They don't just come from those who have the university degrees and the PhDs. They come also from what sometimes we refer to inelegantly as the ordinary man and woman. People who are living, and through their living have experiences that they can share with us. And so I want to thank that young mother. Because of her, we saw the light. Because of her, we went to work. Because of her, we now have a policy that will benefit people like her and others. And what I particularly liked is that the young mother did not come just to ask for her. She didn't just come and say, I need some help. She said, what can you do to help young mothers across the island who find themselves in a low income category but still need childcare? And we have come up with what I think is a good solution, where instead of competing against the daycare centers, we are partnering with them. There will be means testing, so I want the public to be clear that this assistance is not for everyone. This assistance is for those who need the assistance. And I have made it very clear to my cabinet, I have made it very clear to the public when we have engaged, that I feel the role of government is to help those who need help. The role of government is not to give to those who already have. It is to help those who need help, to provide the safety nets for those who need the safety nets. Some people are of a view, oh, this person in the village get $100, I should get $100 too. I don't think that we ought to think like that, because the person who gets the $100 assistance might be somebody who needs that $100 assistance, not just wants it, but needs it. And I say that because sometimes I think our people have a view. It is not for me to tell them that their view is wrong, but sometimes they have a view with which I don't agree. One person, for example, said to me that the $500 that was being given to families to try and assist them, the poverty alleviation program, that $500 was the money that they put in the bank every month. That was their savings. And I said to them, but that was not the intention behind the money. Obviously, if you can save, everybody's encouraged to save. But the program was not intended to give families $500 to save. The program was always intended for assistance in terms of people's needs on a daily basis. And the fact that some saw the program as an avenue to get money to save tells me that sometimes we have to just reorient the way we look at these programs and the way that our public receives these programs, because safety nets are really intended to help those who need that help, and they're not intended to be permanent. I think that that point also needs to be made, that the idea is to find our people at the stage when they need help, to help them, but to help them in such a way that ultimately they get to a stage where they no longer need that help. They have risen beyond their circumstances. And which of us cannot identify with that? All of us. I've told my story a million times from whence I came. A little boathouse down in Henley Park, Scarborough to be precise, to where I now am. And all of us can trace a similar journey. People who have been in leadership in this island and across this country can trace a similar journey. I say that to say that because you were there yesterday does not mean that you are there today. Because you needed help yesterday does not mean that today you need help. I, for example, benefited from scholarships to get an education. But I was able to get to a point where my children got an education and I was able to fund their education. So they were not a burden. on anyone for a scholarship as I was. I think that that's important, because as we evolve and as hopefully we improve, we make way for others. So if you're able to fund your childcare, if you're able to fund your children's needs in terms of school, university, etc., then what it means is that you then free up scholarships and other such opportunities for others. And I think that that is the way government ought to function. Government really should be there to provide for those that need that safety net and move out of the way and allow the society more generally to function. That, to my mind, is an important policy and an important ethos of government. Not all will agree with me, I understand that, but I feel that that is the primary role of government. Government is not there to give away things to everybody, or all who may come and take. No. Government is there to pinpoint those areas of need. That is why, for example, I have looked at various programs, and I have said openly, things like when we were giving away laptops to every student. Every child in the school, you give a laptop, whether their parents were multi-millionaires or their parents were poor people. And you ask the question, why? If your parents are multi-millionaires, you probably have 10 laptops in your house already. So what the government giving you more laptop for? Programs should be designed to give people a hand up. And those who need a hand up are those who are having difficulty. And so rather than giving a family that already has 10 laptops in their house another 2 laptops or 3 laptops which they have no use for, it is better to target those children and those families that need the assistance. And then maybe instead of spending so much money on all these laptops that you don't actually need, that the society doesn't actually need, you buy fewer laptops and you take the rest of the money and you say to those poorer families, you know something, we're not only going to give you a laptop, we're going to give you internet connectivity as well. Lift them up, a hand up, level up. I hear that expression being used in the UK, for example. They talk about leveling up. That is what I think government needs to be doing. And for me, that's very important, that we do means testing. We identify the areas of need. We are not a rich government. These islands are not rich islands. We many times are barely making ends meet. And some of the extravagance that some expect, I think we need to collectively say, no, that is not the way. The role of government is to help those who are in need and to try to level up and bring those who need that assistance up. So the student then who has parents who have means should not be better off than the student whose parents do not have the means. It is the government and government policy that can bridge that gap, bridge that divide. And so that is our simple philosophy here. But again, when you have leaders, government representatives who are prepared to listen to the people, hear what they have to say. It is not everything that one can action. It is not everything that is even a good idea. But there are a number of great ideas out there. And this daycare to assist single parents, to assist those who need that assistance, is one such brilliant idea. And that did not come from us, it came from the community. And so again I say thank you to this young mother who came not on her own behalf, but on behalf of all young mothers and young parents. Let me not only say young mothers who found themselves with children requiring childcare and on whom the burden was too great. That's our job as government, to ease that burden when that burden is too great. And so I look forward very much to rolling out that program. I'm very, very proud that we're able to find a solution that works at one with the existing daycare industry on the island of Nevis. And so we say thank you for that, and we certainly look forward to continuing our engagement with the community, continuing to get the ideas and the feedback from the community so that we can solve these types of problems. I think, ladies and gentlemen, that that is a model of good governance at work. And so we continue to do that and to do the best that we can in the circumstances. Now, I don't propose to get into the politics of the day here on the island of Nevis, because frankly what is passing as politics now from the opposition is really political nonsense. This running around and trying to get people to say things that are not true, to engage in all kinds of nonsense. But you know, our public for some reason has a tendency, maybe it's cultural, I don't know, but whenever bad is trumpeted, whenever something negative is trumpeted, it seems to be repeated more often than when something positive is trumpeted. And I think that that is unfortunate. I saw, last week I think I made a comment, that the famous actress Nia Long was visiting Nevis. Nia, I'm told, went all over Nevis. Well, let me not say, that would be disrespectful. I'm not on a first name basis with her. So Miss Long was all over Nevis. Miss Long enjoyed her time here. Miss Long said to her Instagram followers, some 4.5 million followers, these were her words: "My heart belongs to Nevis. My heart belongs to Nevis." I just want us as Nevisians to understand that we could not afford to pay for that level of publicity, and it was given to us free of cost. We here on this island and at the Nevis Tourism Authority have over the past year and a half been engaging quite actively to see how we can encourage more African Americans to visit our shores. Yes, we're getting visitors, but we don't get as many African Americans. We don't get as many Africans. We don't get as many black people, let me use that expression, as we think we should. When we go to the United States, we say, but they are right where our source markets are. New York, Connecticut, Boston, Washington, D.C., Virginia, New Jersey, all along that eastern seaboard, full of rich black people. But they're not coming here. They're going to Jamaica, they're going to Dominican Republic. And so we're saying, well, how can we change that? And so people like Miss Long, Nia Long, are a godsend. We didn't contract with her, engage with her in any way. She came on her own volition to the island, and her experience was so good. And I want to take a moment, because I want our people to understand that when a guest, any guest, but even more so a famous guest, comes on this island, and of their own volition they go back and they speak so glowingly of our island that it is testimony to the quality of our people. I hope our people could understand that, you know. When you see a Miss Long or whoever comes and they stay at the Four Seasons, they go and they dine at Sunshine's or at one of our other establishments, and they're so blown away that they go back and they say to the world, my heart belongs to Nevis. That what they are in fact celebrating is all of us. They didn't go to Four Seasons and when the housekeeper, the front office person, the manager, the chef, the server, they said, you NRP or CCM? They don't even know what name NRP and CCM. They come and they have a wonderful experience, and that experience is made possible by who? By our people. So when you get shout-outs like those, big shout-outs, it is a celebration of our people, all of us. And I pointed out last week that while we have people who are willing to come and celebrate us, there are others who every day they get up and they tell the world how terrible we are and we're the worst place in the world. Well, the two things can be true. Two things can be true. But the opposition in Nevis, well, let me just say the NRP, because we have two opposition in Nevis. But the NRP side of the opposition, they just cannot help themselves. So they start some huge thing about the woman, and oh, the woman come here on vacation. Them don't know how she get here, whether she pay she own way or somebody pay for she. And she come here and she attack. But if she want to see the real Nevis, she must go live a fountain and go live someplace else, because the real Nevis, she wouldn't say that the real Nevis, her heart belongs to that. Because water to go off and electricity to go off, and we get pothole and we get money from sink kits and we don't know where the money gone. All kind of choppiness. But you know what is even worse? They tagged the woman in their nonsense. So they are now seeking to drag her in by actually tagging her on social media. Putting up their hand and saying, Miss Long, you said something nice about Nevis. Well, what you say isn't true. Nevis is a bad place because Nevis got pothole, and Nevis got crime, and Nevis got water problem, and Nevis got electricity problem. You should not have said that. That is almost treacherous in my view. Now, even if we here at home have our pick-on and our back and forth, but why seek to tag the woman? Let me tell you something. I got a call from Los Angeles, California. And my call came from a dear friend of mine of many years. She's from St. Kitts and Nevis, but she lives in California. And it just happens that Miss Long is her friend. And she reached out to me. She said to me, why are people seeking to tag her so that it shows up on her timeline, it shows up on her social media about all the negative things about Nevis? The woman just came to Nevis. The woman went back and she said, my God, my heart belongs to Nevis. I never experienced nothing like this. It is such a wonderful place. That's where my heart is. And she don't say so in secret. She said it publicly. And the NRP went to town on a rampage, telling the woman, you're wrong to say that, because Nevis got pothole, water to turn off and electricity to turn off. You're wrong. And I'm saying, why is it that this handful of people hate this island so much? What is it that you're saying because you have not been able to persuade the people of Nevis to put you into office? That means that everything about the island that you covet, and see the word I use, because covetousness is a sin. You covet the island, but yet you can't bring yourself to say one good thing about the island that you covet. Here's somebody. I didn't call up the lady and say, Miss Long, could you say something nice about Nevis, please? I beg you. No. Of her own volition. She came, she saw, she experienced, she fell in love with our island. Our island. Oh, you are our island. She was no doubt attended to by people who support CCM, people who support NRP, people who don't support nobody. She was immersed in a vision experience, and it blew her mind. We all should feel good about that. We all should celebrate that. But instead of that, oh, CCM in government and people say good things. So let me get her now involved, tag her, and start to tell her about pothole. Well, my good friend in England sent me a photo. And I'm telling you, she said to me, she doesn't understand that Nevisians keep going to the airwaves to say that we have pothole in Nevis. She sent me a photo and she said to me, she said, this is a photo of some potholes that we have here where she lives. And Mr. Tal, that can't be. Because I can't imagine that England, big England, Mother England, could have pothole them size there. Because I am pretty sure that if you went down into them pothole there, you find people living down there. That's the size of potholes. I'm looking through my phone here to see if I could even find it. Right? That's the size of potholes. But here we are as divisions. Every day we run around, we take a picture of a pothole. Rain just come, torrential rain. Anywhere in the world you have torrential rain, you will have some degrading of the infrastructure. But it becomes now something for you to say to the world, to tag me along and say to everybody, oh, guess what? Nevis got pothole along there, you know. That is the approach. And this person sent me and me say, as the old people here will say, oh, me good old God, me can't believe them hold them deep there in the road them in England. Me can't believe. Because to hear some of them talk, some of them who living up in the States, quick to jump on social media and say all kinds of things about Nevis. Well, I put on my TV the other day and I was alarmed in the extreme because you know what was going on in Harlem, in the heart of New York. They had a whole team out there say they come go fight the rat. R-A-T rat. They say rat, they big like cat. They say you got some rat in Harlem. When the cat them see them, the cat run. Rat now run from cat in Harlem. Cat run from rat. And they say that they're out there to fight the rat infestation. I say, but this can't be New York City. This can't be. Because when some of them land in Nevis, you think that the streets up there are paved with gold. And they're living in a mansion in the sky with milk and honey. And I say, but this is New York rat infestation in Harlem? No. These are people who call down Nevis every day. Say the most awful things about Nevis. You would not believe that other countries have any form of issue. That a pothole could actually form in a street in London. Oh no, that can't happen. That only happens on Nevis. That is the nonsense that passes here as public debate. What they engage in. And then, of course, when they don't have something that they could actually try to call down Nevis with, they just go and they make it up. They just go and make it up. So somebody drew to my attention recently, I'm the Minister of Finance on this island. And I have prided myself, ladies and gentlemen, and I say it now here again, that there has never been under my government thus far, praise be to God, any whiff of corruption that anybody can point to. With all the talk you hear them out there about who corrupt and who this and who that, I challenge them to bring the evidence to the public of any whiff of corruption on the part of this administration. And when they can't bring evidence of anything, they just make it up. So somebody drew to my attention that the latest talking point is that we, my government, cleared some land and paid some over $1 million to clear some land. Ladies and gentlemen, what utter nonsense. Utter fabricated foolishness. Just like Ivor Walter School was infested with cockroaches. Biggest cockroach you ever seen in my life. Big so. Big so, they say cockroach not gonna call in foul party, but me sure if Brownhill fall them and see them size of cockroach that the man say was over there at Ivor Walters, the fall would have take head, make foot and run. Because fall would afraid cockroachy based on them size. The man not even get a roach from Antigua. The man says German roach. Me say what? Roach come here all the way from Germany? This roach here must walk over the Berlin Wall and reach Nevis. Big thing on Facebook. Infestation of cockroaches at Ivor Walters School has to close down. Me get so frightened. Me take up my phone. Me call the principal. Me say Lord, Madam Principal, what going on over there? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, I hear the school shut down. Cockroach, not over here. Nothing is wrong over here. The school is in good order. I said, the kitchen, I got She said, Mr. Brantley, if these things happen, you know that I would call the education officials would go. And I put down my phone in shock at the level that people who say they love Nevis would go to tarnish this island that they say they love. Now I am sure people all around the world would have said, oh my God, them German cockroach take over Nevis. Imagine my alma mater, Ivor Walters, and all of that story, the story make up for? To get at me. Because Brownhill is in my constituency. That's all, Make up a whole story about cockroach infestation at our schools in order to say that I am not doing a good job. When nothing tall goes so. Nothing tall goes so. And I just don't understand lie after lie after lie. Fabrication after fabrication after fabrication. All in some misguided effort to say they're attacking the government. When you want to attack the government and its policies, go ahead. You want to say that our effort to assist mothers with daycare, that's wrong, that's a wrong approach, go ahead. But why you keep making up stories to try and make the island look bad? Because when you talk about cockroach infestation and shut down a school on Nevis, it is not Mark Brantley. People out there see Nevis. And when it turns out that that story was a figment of some jaundiced imagination, we ought to condemn these things. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, why you all don't shut up this person and shut up that person and deal with them? And I said, you know what? Bad as it is, and stupid as they are sometimes for the stupid things that they say, from a purely political standpoint, they remain the best friends that the Concerned Citizens Movement has. And for those of you listening who might have recalled in your chair and say, what Mark's saying is true. Because every time they open their mouth and they chat the level of foolishness that they chat, the right-thinking members of this community are reminded why they will not give NRP a chance in government again. And that's the truth. I have said it publicly that if I were the leader of the NRP, next month when I wake up again, because she wakes every once a month, says something and go back to sleep. The next month when I wake up again, I will say it to these fellas, no. Are you either hush your mouth or are you no longer in NRP? We need some new spokespeople. Because your party cannot have credibility when it has as its spokespeople a group whose only success in life thus far has been failure. The only subject they pass in school, they get an A for failure. That is the only subject they've passed. And every day they go out there and they paint a picture that I am sure the right-thinking members of this society and this community say, Tal, not are you. Are you tell too much lie? How you think the principal, teachers, staff, students, their parents, Ivor Walters is our pride and joy, how you think they felt to see their school being brought into disrepute through a lie? And they now learn it is the same old khaki pants over and over. No, some of them wear khaki skirt, but it's the same thing over and over. And that is the point, ladies and gentlemen, that needs to be made and emphasized, that we cannot continue down that road. As I said, if I'm speaking purely politically, I would say let them go ahead because it is helpful to me and my party. Because people see such a stark difference between what they have in terms of responsible leadership and the reckless, careless foolishness that say they want to be in leadership, that people say, no, not I. And I am really calling on the leader of the NRP next month. What the date today is the 23rd. So round about the 15th, when you wake up, next month. I want you to come out and say, these fellas here need to hush them out. They can no longer speak for the party, because so long as those are your spokesmen and women, NRP dead. Stiff stone moderation dead. Because they are the same recycled old newspaper that people have discarded time and time again. People throw them away. People crumple them up, put them in the trash basket. The wind blow them out again. They say, here I am, I'm back. People rip them up, and they keep coming back like some French weed that nobody wants. All who not afraid to run. Then you got some afraid to run. They bark all day, but they not got no bite. Others, them run, they get broke in, they never pass back this way. And they are talking. Somebody said to me the other day that I should sue one of them. I said, sue them for what? What are they going to pay me with ear? Them not got nothing. Them not got a thing. At their ripe old age, they can't point to one thing that they have accomplished in their lives. Nothing. But these are the ones who continue to say they have the answers for you. Mind you get up every day, you go to work. You are providing for your children. You are paying your rent, paying your mortgage, whatever the case may be. Them now work nowhere. Them not got nothing to do every day. So they get up and they go around the island. And if they can't find something to criticize, they just make up something. And they put it out. And then some of the followers, I just laugh to myself, you know. I see one comment on somebody's page. I can't remember who it is. But a young man who I have great admiration for. I don't know what has happened to him. But he on this rampage with this politics thing. And it seems to me that there is a line that you must. There's some juice or something that you have to drink. Maybe something you got to smoke. I don't know. To enter NRP. You can't just like ordinary parties you sign up. No. There is something special you have to go. Some kind of rite of passage, an initiation. And you got to drink something that make you lose your ability to reason. And the comment that this youngster made was something to do with the hospital and over $40 million already spent at the hospital. And I said, here we go again. We have painstakingly set out for the public time and time again how much money has been spent. In fact, you all would remember that we made a mistake. We gave one figure by the previous minister, and then when the new minister of health took over, she gave a different figure. I said there was a mistake and that we had asked for the numbers to be reconstituted so we could get accurate numbers. That was delayed because the system had been hacked. The government system had been hacked. But we eventually did it, and we reported it to the public in my press conference. And the number, I believe, was somewhere around $17 million spent thus far. So when I hear 40 million done spent and where the money, and I said to myself, why is it that in order to be NRP or to support NRP, you must become foolish? Why? Why is there that requirement? Because your argument is always much stronger when it's based on fact, you know. It is always much stronger. But they build up all this animus and build up all this emotion. And the truth becomes irrelevant. So when one say that a school shut down because some German cockroach march here, marching, they came on Lufthansa and came in and overrunning Ivor Walters Primary School. And that is proven to be a lie. You would have thought that people of good sense would say, partner, take a back seat, I beg you go sit down. Because you're not doing our cause any justice. They don't do that, you know. They promote him. They say, tell some more lie. Tell some more lie. And so we have lies being told daily. It's a daily cacophony of lies, deception, and misinformation. Just like how monies went missing from CFBC on a daily basis. Every day they thief money up a CFBC. Every day. And the audited reports are there. That's why I like to talk, because I don't come with any hearsay. I come with facts. And the audited reports confirmed that money went missing on a daily basis at CFBC. That was what the report said. If my memory serves, somewhere in the region of $500,000 disappeared, poof, from CFBC. So you have money going missing daily. You have lies being told daily. You have all of this, just everything that is bad happening daily. And the NRP still says, let us continue down this path on a daily basis. How could that make sense? Because right-thinking members of the community are out there watching, they're paying attention, and they're saying if this level of nonsense, this level of thieving, this level of lying is what you bring to us on a daily basis, then we are not going to accept you. We are going to reject you. And my God, there have been 16. I hear me carefully, Tried to count them the other day. 16 elections since 1992 on this island of Nevis. Federal and local. General elections, I mean. Because we've had a couple by-elections. General elections. 16 of them. And NRP, of those 16, has won 1. And we all know that that 2006 election, they've never really win it. Because they worked some bubble that ultimately saw Gish losing his seat. And they came back in 2011 and tried the bubble again. But they met me. And I was not having any of it. And so I went to the court. And the court tell them, null and void. Null and void. First party in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis have an election declared null and void for thieving was the NRP. We shouldn't forget these things, Null and void. And so we went back to the polls. And they've been in the wilderness ever since 2013 as a result. Of 16 general elections, CCM has won 15. And NRP has 1. And we know they didn't win it. They thieved it in 2006. And still, they will not depart from the path, the destructive rhetoric and narrative that they've had all these years. They will not depart from it. They have stayed on that path. And so the people of Nevis are looking on. And the people of Nevis are saying, well, you change leaders. Let me see. Since I became leader of CCM in 2017, NRP has had 1, 2, 3, they now want the 4th leader. Since 2013. Since 2017, forgive me. So in the past 6 years, they've had 4 leaders. 4 leaders. First one, lost. Second one, lost. Third one, well, they say he was interim. He lose worse than the rest. And the 4th one lost again. 4 leaders. So it means leader after leader, they have adopted the same course of action. And as I said, if I were purely to speak politically, I would say continue NRP because you are our best friend. But I want better for Nevis. I want better for Nevis, and Nevis is stronger when government and opposition do their job. When government is held accountable by opposition. Not with lies and make up story, not with German cockroach that came in on Lufthansa, but with alternatives. And to expose when things are going wrong. But you need an opposition that is credible. Is credible. And one thing about Nevis, it's such a small space that you can't really hide, People know who's credible and who's not. Because people have seen us. You think I could go now and pretend and say, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and people say, boy, you think me not know, You're over in Pickney. You're Vicky Pickney, you think me not know you? Huh? You think me don't know Ovi when he was over Bath before he go along England? You think me don't know Vicky from Henley Park? People know us, so it's hard for us to pretend. So a lot of them who going around here, right? Get up one morning and say they're a politician, and suddenly they say they love people. Suddenly they start to say how much poverty is in the community. But all the years, when they got everything that they wanted, they didn't think about any poverty or any community. Minute that they didn't get what they say they wanted, the minute that you had to say, I am sorry, it cannot be done. Oh my goodness gracious, all hell break loose. Mark Brantley is the worst thing that ever happened, but I wasn't bad. When you came and I said yes. When you came again and I said yes. When you came a third and a fourth and a fifth and I said yes, yes, yes. It wasn't a bad thing. But the time you come and I said I can't go any further. Oh, the worst thing in the world is this is selfish, this is. And I become the devil himself. Forgetting all the times that I was there to help. That is what they bring. And when people start to examine, people know real from fake, you know. People know those genuine people who are fighting for this island and fighting for the betterment, and they know those who are fighting for themselves. Those who are looking to get their proverbial snouts in the trough. It's not proverbial, I should say. Metaphorical. Snouts in the trough. They know. They have seen them before. I want to remind us, you know, that from 2006 to 2013, we saw the most corrupt administration this island has ever seen. And all of you out there who disagree with me, challenge me on it. The most corrupt administration the island has ever seen. You had a minister and the legal advisor form a law firm while they were in government. And that law firm was doing legal work for the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation while one person was a minister and in charge of the corporation and the other was a board member. Then now you come start to say about, oh, conflicts of interest and whatever. Huh? You had jobs here on this island. Surrey Paving came here, did all the work all across Nevis. Buildings, roads, you name it, all through Nugents, Island Main Road, NIPAC, one company. No bids from anybody else. Local people here kicking stone. But now they say, oh, you all do things and there are no bids, that is wrong. You had situations here. You all remember that the registry? The financial services registry in Nevis was supposed to go to a Lebanese company called Utico. Nevisians, listen, you wake up, you know. You all wake up because some of us have fallen asleep. We have forgotten. A Lebanese company called Utico was to take over the financial services registry here in Nevis. Lebanon. And we were the ones who got wind of it and stopped it because we intervened. You all must not forget these things. You all must not forget that the NRP, in an attempt to win an election, removed hundreds of our brothers and sisters from the voters list. They went into Cane Garden, and because they felt that the residents of Cane Garden were not with them, they removed them wholesale. I remember speaking to someone in Cane Garden. You know what they tell me? That two of them come in here and asking for the name and number, telling them about some program to assist the people. Them none of them will give their name so that they could go back to the registry, go take off their name. You all forget that? You all forget that? I see the NRP just announced a new executive. When I look on the face of some of those in the executive, they were the same ones who were there taking off people's name. We marched about that. We marched. You all remember that? Black Fox and Cox? Ask Wheeler about it, he sing about it. Me hear them a say Wheeler sing now and them a jump up. Well, they forget that Wheeler also sing about something funny happen in the Cox box. That is NRP. We must not let them forget, because nowadays it seems to me that some are coming and, oh, this government is this and this government is that. And these righteous indignation that comes with it, as if they forget. You all forget we had 10 million US dollars down there in Scotia Bank, and by the time CCM got back into office, we can't find the money looking for us, and we're looking for the money. Can't find the money gone, poof! Where it gone, nobody knows. But right now there are people on the Nugents, people who bought lands in pennies, who cannot get their title, even though they've paid in full. You know what has happened to my government? Some people are now writing to my government, sending lawyer letters saying they want back the money. They want back their money because they have bought and paid for their land all these years and cannot get their title. You know why they can't get their title? Because the company in Trinidad that should have been paid with the 10 million US, the same 10 million that disappeared, poof! The company say, we are not processing and allowing anybody to get no title until we get all of our money. So every month, this CCM government is dutifully paying Trinidad, hoping to clarify that situation, regularize it, so that our people here who are suffering. Somebody called me up to recently, tell me they're ready to build. They bought land under NRP. They want to build on their land now. But guess what? They can't go to the bank to borrow no money because they've not got no title. And they're asking me, Lord, as Premier, work out something. I need to move forward with my family. I need my home. And I am saying to them, unless we could get some lump sum to pay off Trinidad, nobody could get their title. It wasn't us who created that problem. It is those who put their hand on that 10 million US and it gone poof. And these are things I think that, ladies and gentlemen, we can't forget, you know. We should not forget that NRP compulsorily acquired some 13 pieces of land. They take land in Cohoons, in Jessops. They take land all across the length and breadth of Nevis. Them not pay for one piece. Them not pay for one piece. The law is very clear. Compulsory acquisition, you must find a way to pay. Not pay for one. And so people are calling us now, they want back the land, they want their money. Lord, some of the money, the interest gone on the money now. You and your grandchildren, me and my grandchildren will be paying for these mistakes for years to come. Then they talk about governance. They talk about who is good in government and who's not. We must not forget these things. We must not forget them. We had, after hurricane here and Four Seasons was closed down, they brought in 600 Mexican workers to rebuild Four Seasons. You all forget where the 600 Mexicans were staying? Huh? You all forget where they were staying? In accommodation that was furnished through a sitting member of the cabinet. And when that talk came up, oh, the posture, and they went on. I remember they actually sued me, you know. Sued me. But, you know, me not afraid courthouse, you know. Me not afraid courthouse because fish not afraid seawater. Sued me when me could swim. Me could swim. I like Bro Rabbit. If you want to put me in the briar patch, you'll throw me in the briar patch. Let me go tangle in the briar patch. Because that's what I went to school for. And when I went to school, I passed my bar exam, you know. So me ain't no Tamanchi lawyer. I actually graduated and qualified as a lawyer. Me now go around and pretend and put my glasses them over my eye. Let me try and imitate. Put my glasses them over my eye so. And every courthouse you in the back with the glasses over your eyes so. I pretend to be what you're not. That's not me. I actually pass. And so I can proudly say that I'm a lawyer and I can practice. Sued me and claim that I defamed by pointing out the truth. Well, you could imagine my surprise when after them sue me and say, oh, them not born a Mexican worker, then turn around and sue the Mexican worker them for their money, say them not pay the rent. I can't make this stuff up, you know. I can't make this stuff up. You got one case going. You say Mark Brantley say that I was involved in some Mexican worker and some rent story. And Mark Brantley lie on me and he defame me. While the case going on, you bring a case against the same Mexican worker and say you want your money for your rent. I think a lie may tell? That's NRP. That's NRP. So, how the devil gone correct sin? Can't. So a lot of the hullabaloo I'm hearing, a lot of the nonsense that I'm hearing, the devil can't correct sin. And the sins are there for all of us. All of us to know. They're there. And so I want us to remain steadfast. I've gone on for a long time tonight because, you see, when I start to talk about these things, I tell you some of our people look like they have short memory. They have short memory. We made a mistake in 2006. They got in through some skullduggery the first time in 16 elections, the first time in 30 years. And we saw them at work. We saw them at work, and guess what? Not a thing has changed. Look at them. Some of the faces out front might change, but look who doing the talking. Look who will be making the decisions. The same old rip-up khaki pants. They're the ones. They're the ones who continue to talk. And so, our people, is up to us. It's up to us. But I know what I know. And I know when I speak with the benefit of facts. I went down in the House of Assembly. When I started talking, then Premier Joseph Parry, you know what I said? I said, Premier Parry, I know you don't know. Because I've always seen Premier Parry as an honorable man. I said, I know you don't know, but let me tell you what some of them sitting across there with you doing. We had a NEBIS on the NRP where if you were a non-national and you wanted a work permit, you couldn't just go and apply to government, the Premier's Ministry for a work permit. You know, you're crazy tall. You had to go through an NRP operative. Some of them were family members of sitting ministers. You go through them. And where work permit costs you $1,500 if you go through the proper channel. You got to pay them $3,000 and $4,000 for the work permit. They had a business that they were running, taking advantage of the non-national community. Then some of them got the non-nationals working for them. They hold their passport and they don't pay them. People out there seem to forget. Kick down people do 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Say they're deporting them. We seem like we forget. Daniel Brantley had to go to court to fight for a non-national family who were picked up to be deported. What was their sin? They support CCM. That was their sin. And the court chastised them. Said, no. Illegal. So many non-nationals left here, deported, and can't come back. You know why? They put a notation in the immigration system. A notation that is reserved for terrorists. And say, these people cannot come back into St. Kitts Nevis ever again. That's NRP. Y'all think these things are a joke? Sometimes we need to have these types of conversations because we need to be reminded. And I haven't even touched the surface if we start to get into some of the things that they were involved in. Some of the skullduggery. A minister of lands. First order of business, get a whole house for he and his father. Then, brother, sister, wife. So, one family. Father, minister, brother, sister, wife. 7 people benefited from the Housing and Land Corporation, of which the minister was in charge. And you all want people. I have a check in my phone to this day, the receipt, where the minister was paid $500 to clean a house from Land and Housing. The minister $500 for cleaning the house. One of the houses that Land and Housing did. And you all want to go back to that? That's what we want? Ladies and gentlemen, we could do better. And that is why I'm saying, let us get an opposition that is speaking to the issues in a way that people can trust what they're saying. Not an opposition who. So, I mean, up to now, we have a leader now of NRP. And that leader has refused to tell the public what happened to her when she was at the Coastal Zone Management in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And what happened at that Coastal Zone Management, why people who worked with her went to jail for corruption. When you raise it, they say, oh, you're playing dirty politics. What is the dirty politics in that? You're asking for an explanation. Because when somebody comes to you and they said, vote for me, you're asking that person to put their trust and confidence in you. Well, if you had a whole scandal in the USVI that erupted, where you were in charge, and people went jail, not no ordinary jail, they went jail for long periods, 8 years, 9 years, they spent. And it just so happened that when things fall apart in VI and people go jail, you happen to be in Nevis. You don't live in Nevis, you know. But you happen to be in Nevis when it happened. And nobody must ask a question. You must not be asked to account and to explain what happened during that episode. No, nobody must ask nothing. But you are going around. And while real stories, real situations are being ignored or swept under the rug, you are fabricating things against decent people and say, oh, this and that and the other, when you know it's not true. We need to do better. We need to do better. I hope the Patriots performing like I'm performing tonight, you know. 6 after 6 on the front foot. When I go on the back foot, is to hook, not ducking. 20 minutes past. We got 40 minutes left. I am now going to hush. I don't even know if anybody out there listening, because cricket is raging right now. And I hope hope Patriots are winning. But we're going to take some calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. We have 40 minutes left, and so I ask you to take advantage of that and to call in. While I wait for the phones to ring, I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, that these situations we must not forget. We have been there, we have seen it, we have experienced it. We must not forget. Because the day you start to forget is when those wolves in sheep clothing persuade you that they're actually sheep, but they come to devour you. And so we must be careful. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. A gentle reminder that tomorrow at 10 a.m. the Nevis Island Assembly meets to discuss some various bills that are before the Assembly, and we hope to be able to report to the public on certain matters there at the Nevis Island Assembly. And so we look forward very much to you joining us tomorrow at 10. Let us go to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Caller? Hello?
Hello.
Caller, could you move away from your computer? Listen to the phone, not to your computer.
Hello.
Could you move away from your computer or your radio, please? Caller? Hello?
Caller?
Hello? Okay, we'll have to wait and get another call. Caller, please, if you're calling, you must move away from your radio or computer. Turn it down or turn it off while you talk to me on the phone. Otherwise, there will be some feedback and we won't be able to hear each other. So if you please can call back in, but when you call back in, either move away from the computer or the radio, whichever you're listening to, or turn it down so that you're not getting that feedback. I want to talk to you on the phone. There's always going to be a feedback and a delay on the computer. So let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Psalm 37 verse 23 and 24. As steps of a good man are ordered big the Lord, and the delight in his way. Then he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with, I was on his hand. I was on his hand. I just stepped in, Sheriff. I was on a catamaran cruise in the Virgin Islands. See you soon. My vacation is fabric, I'm telling you. Good night to my cousin in Canada and my nephew. And you know, I always love you, love you, love you.
Thank you very much, my love. It is good to hear from you. It's good.
Soon come.
Good to hear from you. It is amazing, you know. This caller calls in. She always has something beautiful to say, beautiful to tell us, beautiful scripture. You know, I like when she calls me the scripture, because sometimes when I hear the scripture, I say, you know, Mark, what is it my friend DuPont to say? No, DuPont, no. You know, you call yourself back, because sometimes you really want to get into it and get into some of the nitty-gritty. But I will take the calls instead. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. If you're out there and you want to participate in the show, we ask that you call in. As I was saying, tomorrow at 10, we have the sitting of the Nevis Island Assembly, and we look forward there to getting some updates from ministers and getting into the debates in terms of the bills that are there for debate. I said earlier in the show that this year for independence we'll have some things of a difference as we celebrate 40 years, and we're encouraging one and all to come out and get involved. Really want to see the colors. I want to see the national pride coming out. Just as we rallying with our patriots, now I want us to be patriots for the 40th anniversary of our independence, and that happens on September 19th this year, and so we look forward very much to that. So we are asking for your calls, 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. For those who are listening, I know my friend just called in, so she was listening. I'm not sure about others, because I said I know the cricket is going on. If you can even call and give me a score, I would appreciate it, because I don't know what's happening. Of course, I'm here and not at the cricket and not being able to watch or listen, but I do know that the Patriots is playing against Jamaica, and we are hopeful that the Patriots can do well tonight. I don't even know if the game is over yet, but I do know that when I left home they were playing and the Patriots weren't doing so well, so I'm hopeful that they are recovering and that they'll be doing much better. It is 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We have another 35 minutes left until the hour of 10 o'clock, and so we are taking your calls, and I ask you and invite you to call as the Spirit moves you. That's what they say in church. We don't have church here. We on the mark. But as the Spirit moves, you call in and put on the table whatever it is you need to put on the table. While we wait for the phones to ring, let me just continue to talk about a few things that are happening on the island. And on a positive note, we have quite a bit that's happening. I keep talking about agriculture because we have really demonstrated what a commitment from a government and a clear policy in relation to food security and food sovereignty can achieve. And we have examples on the island. The Indian Castle Fruit Orchard, the brainchild of the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, is something that we are very proud of. We feel that it is a model that can be replicated across the region. Really, really excellent. We've seen the explosion in food production across the island. I commented just a few weeks ago on what the Brownhill Management Group was doing in terms of their community farm, how they were distributing produce in the neighborhood, how they were making produce available for sale so that they could then use the revenue from that to provide meals to seniors and to give back to the community. And I passed them there afternoons working on that farm. It's all community effort. It's all volunteers. And the food that they produce from a small little plot of land. I don't even think that plot of land is 3,000 square feet. It is tiny. And the amount of food that the Brownhill management team is producing from that plot of land is absolutely phenomenal. But what is happening in Nevis under this government, and as a response more specifically to what we saw during COVID, is that people have rekindled their love of agriculture, and more people are now growing food, whether it's in their backyard or whether they're doing so commercially. And that, I think, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we all should be proud of. They're now growing food, they're feeding themselves. When I look at what the Brown Hill management team is there doing, I see a model that can be replicated in all the communities. In fact, it is something that I am going to suggest to our Department of Agriculture and our community development team, that this is something that we should do in every part of this island, in all of the villages. We should identify a plot of land. And now with the level of production in small shade houses, because in Brown Hill they have a tiny shade house, but identify and say to the community, listen, the government will start you up, but after that you have to run it. And the food you produce, distribute in the community. Make sure that our elderly, make sure that those vulnerable members of the community, that they get their lettuce and their greens and their peppers and their cucumbers. If we sell as Brown Hill does, then that is then made available to fund people in the community, their meals, etc. Let's see if there's anybody on the line holding, and we try and go back to the lines and say good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Oh, good evening, Deputy Premier, how are you?
I am doing pretty good.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're firing on all 10 or 12 cylinders tonight.
Well, I think, Minister, that some things need to be said.
You sure? You're correct.
Because I think that our people sometimes either they forget or I don't know what happens. But you hear the level of negativity every day coming from some people. And you sometimes have to point out to the public, well, these were the same people who were in there when all of this thing happened, you know?
Precisely.
These are the same people, because those years, 5 years and 18 null and void months, were the worst years in the history of this island. And so people have, not too distant memory, a recollection of what happened. And so that is why I think we need to remind people, because sometimes people forget.
And you know, Premier, as you spoke about the potholes, right? I was talking to a cousin of mine, I think it was just last week, because he went to Barbados to look after his visa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while he was there, he said he had a rental. And one day when I was speaking to him while he was in Barbados, he said to me, there was a lot of rain apparently down there, and a lot of water was on the road. And he said, well, I fell into a pothole because there was so much water on the road. I couldn't see the pothole. The vehicle dropped into a pothole. The pothole was so deep that one of the bumper dropped off.
Oh my.
and this is no joke. And then he said, luckily there was insurance with the rental, so he was able to get it sorted out because there was insurance. And I said that to say that, I mean, when we try to destroy our island, Premier, you travel, I travel, and we know that Nevis is top of the line when it comes to the region. I remember when, during the drought, practically every island in the region has water issues. When I studied in Trinidad, and Abu could bear me out, when the dry weather came, there were days when we didn't have any water on campus. Days. And every island suffers during the dry season. And so what we experience here is not unique to Nevis. No issues or no problems that we have on the island are unique to the island of Nevis. They are in every island, including the richest island, the richest country, the United States. And so we must try not to denigrate our island and our country. It is not good. And Premier, as you spoke about the Nugent Heights, I don't think you're aware that, but we have paid back 4 people for their land, you know. 4 persons we've had to pay back. And as a matter of fact, a young man called me early this week, and he was like pleading to me, Mr. Eben, please see what you can do. I need to go to the bank, I need to get some money, but I need the papers for my land. What can you all do for me? I really need to borrow some money, but I need the papers for that land at Nugent Heights that I've paid money for. I've paid all of the money for it. I've paid off for it. That's what he told me. I've paid off for the land. But I cannot get my title. And I need my title to take to the bank. And he was saying, please, he was pleading, see what you can do. And that is a fact. I mean, since I became the Minister of Lands and Housing, a young lady came into my office with the same plea. I want to build on my property, on my land. What can you do? But our hands are tied. Our hands are tied. So, I mean, we, as you rightly said, Premier, we cannot forget all of the wrong that was done to this little island. But as I segue, Premier, I wanted to as well extend condolences to the family of the late Bertram Roach. My friend Bertram Roach made a century last year, and he would have passed, I think it was on Saturday. Also want to extend some condolences to our family here in Hanley's Road, the Lands and the Evelyn's. Of course, we would have lost Teacher Gloria sometime back. We would have lost her. She would have passed in the U.S. And I also want to extend condolences as well to my very good friend Pepe Wallace in the U.S., and as well as the Hendrickson family here on Nevis and the extended family and the loss of Michelle. I know it's a very, very difficult time for all of these families who are mourning at this time, and so I want to extend some condolences to them. And the other thing I wanted to just mention, Premier, we've always said, and I know you have been one of the champions of small businesses, and you always said that small businesses are what make the island, the foundation of the island. And we must continue to commend and big up our small businesses when they do good things. I was in Zetlands on Monday morning because a small business in Zetlands, which is I would say a model business, have been making some giant strides. And they have been doing so because the entrepreneurs are very aggressive people. I speak about the Clarks, Violet and Llewellyn Clark. And, you know, they are of the opinion that when small businesses do well, when they do good, they should give back. And they're running a little program. It may seem insignificant, but I consider it as an excellent initiative. They're doing a 1-week program with 5 differently abled young ladies, and they're calling it Cook Up with Llewellyns. And, you know, they're trying to build the young ladies their self-confidence and their independence and their life skills through cooking. You know, and I found it is a nice, noble initiative. It is being assisted. They're being assisted by the Four Seasons Homeowners Foundation, and I think CIDO as well. But I think it's just a fantastic initiative because they decided, well, listen, we have been doing well, and we're going to give back. Because, of course, you know, Premier, their products have gone as far as Taiwan. Their products have gone all over the world. And it is because of how aggressive they have been. And it's because of the fact they're not sitting down and waiting on the government to do everything for them. They have used the initiative. They've been creative in all that they do. And I really want to commend the Clarks, the Zetlands, for this fantastic initiative. And as I said, they're doing it on their own volition. I mean, they're using their own kitchen, they're using their own equipment, using their own gas, their own electricity, and they're just doing it to help these young ladies. And I think it's a fantastic initiative. I want to commend them very highly, and I would want to encourage other businesses. When you do well, you give back to the community as well. It's not just all about taking, but it's about giving back as well.
Well, Eric, I think that you have said something that is of fundamental importance, that, as you say, we must support our local businesses, but a lot of these initiatives, you know, I mentioned the Brownhill management team earlier.
Yes.
And what they were doing in terms of agriculture. And I really admire because there's no government involvement.
Precisely.
This is a community effort where they come out every day, they work together, and they produce from that little piece of land. I mean, I'm astonished at how much food they're producing from that little piece of land.
Right.
But it tells you what can happen. And since you're on here and you're the Minister of Agriculture, I'm asking you to come and take a look at that particular project, because I think that if we can replicate it around the island, it might do wonders for us in terms of community spirit, but also in terms of our food security.
Yes.
And I think, and I want to commend you publicly, because you've picked up the baton in agriculture and run with it from the Honorable Alexis Jeffers.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that we are doing something good on this island in terms of food and producing food. You don't hear a lot about it, but I think it's worthy of commendation. And we see a lot of youngsters who are getting into farming and using technology to produce more food so as to feed our people. And as you know, I myself am an ambitious farmer.
Yes.
I'm a farmer in waiting.
Yes,
So I'm trying my best to become a farmer as well. But I think that our people should be celebrated, and
Of course.
I'm equally proud of Llewellyn and his wife Violet. I mean, I think they've done a marvelous job.
Marvelous.
Really marvelous. In fact, I saw them recently. They were out and they had a large number of family members here from Australia
Yes.
and from the UK, and I was so pleased to meet them. I mean, I never knew we had any visions in Australia,
Yes.
so it was really good to meet them, you know. But excellent.
As a matter of fact, when we had the aquatic sports,
Yes.
when we had the greasy pole, the first item that was one of the greasy pole was someone from Australia who was here visiting with them.
Ah. Well, that is absolutely amazing that people would come from so far, and I mean, I can't even imagine how much time it would have taken for them to get here.
Precisely.
You know, but thank you for the call. I think it's important that, as you say, we continue to celebrate each other. You know, we continue to really lift up those who are doing good things.
Of course.
Right? That I think is important.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
Good night.
Thank you very much. And we
right.
will continue to press on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley. We're taking your calls. Thank you to the Deputy Premier for his call. If there's anybody else out there, we have about 22 minutes left. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of this show. We were talking a bit about agriculture and what's happening, and I think that's good. I know there's somebody calling right now. Please just give me half a minute. There's a call on the line. Thank you very much. And so we're going to take that call. I'm just getting a note here, said the Patriots made 156 for 9. Tallowers look like they're well on their way to that score. We'll have to see what happens. But let us take this call and say, good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, well, please, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello, you're not hearing me?
You are on the air. Don't listen to your radio or your computer. Listen to your telephone. Go ahead, please. You're on the air. All right. Callers, please. It's not a technical matter. Just call in. Once a call is answered, please move away from your radio or your computer, and you will hear me and I will hear you. Please, if you do that, we'll get through the show. It will be much easier. Let me try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, nobody's there. I'm not getting that caller coming in. So, callers, please be patient with us. We don't know what the issue is, but when you do get in, we're asking that you move away from your computer. I can't stress that enough. Move away from your computer, move away from your radio if you're using the radio, and just listen to the telephone and speak to me on the telephone. That's important. Some of you are calling in and you are paying attention to your computer, not to the telephone. There's a delay on the computer feed, so you'll get confused by that. So please, let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Okay. My scripture for tonight is taken from Ephesians chapter 6, and I'm reading from verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Here is the reading of the scripture, and do have a wonderful night. Good night to Mr. Evelyn and to Wilson there in New York. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I like that bit about the breastplate of righteousness. That's a very important scripture, and thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for the good wishes. I truly appreciate it. Again, ladies and gentlemen who want to call and be a part of the show, the numbers again are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, I'm not hearing that caller. Let's try someone else. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening to you. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Last week I phoned and talked about the police, but I realized that you brushed me off. But I'm a man who used to work for government in St. Kitts, and I had to flee my country because of the corrupt police system that they had there. And I'm again reiterating my call for a commission and inquiry into the police force operation, especially under C.G. Walwyn. That's number one. Number two, it's a shame that we are in a predominantly black country, and this is a decade of people of African descent, and there's not been any real public organization event to celebrate black people. What we are ashamed of ourselves, we celebrate everything that the Europeans give us, and this is the 10 years gone past, and we have not any serious organization to celebrate ourselves. It is a shame. And the third thing, I think we need to raise the discourse of our reasoning. And you're calling other people who you lead in the Navy, Kunumun and all them things. Be above that. Look for something for uniting the people, and not this name calling. That's all I need to say for tonight. Just thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Caller, maybe you missed the show, but we're actually talking about celebrating 40 years of independence. We're talking about national pride. We're talking about patriotism. Perhaps you missed all that when you say that we're not celebrating black people. I'm not sure what you mean, because we are black people and we celebrate 40 years of independence come September. As to you saying I'm dividing people and whatever, yes, it is true. We get into the politics sometimes, but also you need to call a spade a spade. If there are people out there who continue to drag down the country, who seek in every way, shape and form to tell the world that we are the worst country in the world, well, what is it you want me to call them? Patriots? What is it you want me to call them? You see, I think that sometimes we are of a view that those of us who happen to be in leadership must somehow take a particular road and allow the opposition to take a road which is a different road. And the standards, it seems, are not the same. Now, I'm not suggesting that I'm going to go down into the gutter with anybody, but I'm saying that I communicate in a way that people out there who want to understand can understand. They know exactly what I'm saying. And so if you feel offended by the fact that some people are acting in a way that is foolish and are being called out for being foolish. Kunomono is a word that is simply a word that is used in our local parlance. It is local language. So if you prefer me not to say kunomono but to say foolish or idiotic, if you prefer me to say infantile and some word like that, then obviously I can use those words too. But the reality is the same. We need to condemn people who are on a path to destroy the country. And you should understand that, caller, just as I understand it, and you should be joining me in condemning it. Let's go back to the phones. We have 15 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley, I'm joining in condemning, but you're not creating a system in place that is causing all of this. And if you don't criticize this Westminster system, just as capitalism needs to be criticized and needs to be fine-tuned, we are only going to be the crab in the barrel. The crabs in the barrel, they don't choose which crab to walk on to go on top.
So you think it's a system that caused some people to chat foolishness?
Look,
or themselves?
Look at it and see. Of course, look and see choke the Caribbean and choke the world. It is in this crab in the barrel system of causing people to pull on one another and talk malprop and even kill one another just to get in power.
And you think that's a system that did that?
It is the system is causing.
You know, in the Garden of Eden, Cain kill Abel?
Our African democracy never had none of this here.
Really?
It is not. No, it's a plantocracy.
Really?
Don't look, examine history.
Caller, if you examine history, and we can have a conversation, but I like to have factual conversations.
Yeah.
If you examine history,
under the tree, never had none of this. When we meet in our villages in Africa, we didn't have to pull on one another to get in power. That is of European.
Caller, you had empires in Africa who expanded by conquering other places. You ever hear about Shaka Zulu?
But what? But you're missing the point.
What is the point that I'm missing?
This kind of thing that we hear involving this small island.
So, but I'm not. You use Africa as an example. So I'm asking you, since you have called in, you are using Africa as an example, and you're saying that in Africa, persons have not been involved in what you call
our history, our historical democracy. Not today. That will be copied from Europe today. When in ancient times, when we sit and discuss our national issues, it was not about calling on each other. And we have followed European into this crab in the barrel stupidness. And we have to admit that we have done it.
Well, all right.
We have followed them too much.
I hear you, but I think that we all have an individual choice to make.
Perfect more system. We don't have intelligence. We follow the stupidness. What work in Europe usually work for us. Well, it not work for us in our benefit.
It is equally true.
Majesty wants about that.
But it's equal.
Democracy, Majesty wants. What's in Africa today? There's no election in Africa today. The opposition accept the result because this democracy is flawed. We can't admit that. You're saying?
So you're saying democracy is flawed?
Flawed. It needs to be fine-tuned. Because the top-down government, this is democracy is top-down, and the world is not bottom-up. If it's a real democracy, it should be bottom-up, not top-down. Check it out. It's top-down we operating, just like the sovereigns, them, and the plantation, top-down. Not grassroots up. I'm not criticizing them, I'm criticizing the system.
No, I hear you. I'm just saying, I think my response is that I hear you, I understand. And if it is that we need to fine-tune, I think that's the language you use, then we need to fine-tune. But I'm saying that
what I'm telling you, how we fine-tune it now by you, forming a government of national unity and help to go involve the CNF because the challenges that we face in the next 7 years of the country need all hands on deck, and you're going to get them in deck by leaving them in opposition and with the rhetoric that you're keeping. Yet the rhetoric be more of conciliatory note. As much as you find a thing, let's buy a bag and start anew. You have a thing, you have a chapter to raise, a legacy to leave, and let the legacy be.
Hello?
You have a legacy to leave.
Yes.
And you let the legacy be one of that is distinct. That you unite the people in order to face the challenges of the future. And I think that the rhetoric and it need to be more conciliatory and inform a government of national unity after the olive branch. You have the leader need to take the initiative.
Okay.
This time I don't condone.
Okay, Call, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why you got cut off, but we have 10 minutes left. But Call, I'm just saying to you that while I appreciate what you're saying, and I think that my management style is really one that has attempted to be inclusive, but I'll use by way of example. We had a challenge in terms of COVID-19. We did not know where to turn. We had no experience or expertise in dealing with a national factor, global pandemic. And so, what did I do? As the leader of Nevis, I reached out to the opposition. I brought them in. I sought to agree with them how we can approach this together. I asked for their partnership to fight this COVID-19. I asked for their partnership on the vaccination issue. They wrote back and they tell me, no, you're on your own. So we talk about extending branch and all of that, but you can't extend an olive branch to people who are not interested. Who, when you put out your hand of friendship, they say, chop off your hand. And I think that we just need to be realistic that what we need, you're blaming the system, but the system is run by people. And we need to have people sometimes who can rise. But if people are refusing to rise, Caller, then you can't blame the system for that. You can't blame the system for some of the things that were done while they were in government and the hardship that were brought. You hear young people now say they can't get a title for the property. You don't blame the system for that? We must hold people accountable. So while some may say, oh, extend the olive branch and be nice and be kind and be gentle, and I agree that we must do all of those things. When you find people who, notwithstanding that olive branch and that you be kind and you be gentle and you be nice, they are hell-bent on destruction. That is their modus. Then what should you do? Stay quiet? Let's go back to the phones. No, we lost that caller. Caller, please call back. 869-469-1616 and 1700. We talk about unity. We talk about getting together. I agree. In fact, I was part of a government that styled itself a unity government. But what happened in that? Again, the people. You put somebody in charge who had no interest in unity or unifying, but was only interested in self-aggrandizement and personal power. So at the end of the day, caller, I come back to the people. And it's easy to say the system is this and the system is that, but the system is run by us. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. That caller, we lost that caller? Oh, I'm sorry, caller. Please call back, 869-469-1616 and 1700. Those are the numbers to call. Please call back in. We have about 8 minutes left, so we can take your call and hear what you have to say. But that is the situation. Let's go back then. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, that caller doesn't want to speak to us. So callers, please, if you can call in, and when you call in, don't just call in to type the line, but call in because you want to be a part of the show. We would certainly appreciate that, and that would help certainly in terms of us being able to have a smooth running show. As I like to tell people, it's a big platform. People are listening all around the world. I keep taking on my phone because people are WhatsApping from all around the world. Let me join the Honorable Eric Evelyn. I did so at the top of the show, but in extending condolences to others who have lost, and I must remember Mr. Bertram Roach, our centenarian. He passed recently. Mr. Roach was a very dear friend of my father's, and Mr. Roach was life of the party. In fact, my father reminded me when he was alive of a story. He said they went out in England, he and Mr. Roach, and I think it was Ken Evelyn and some others, to a party. And when the party was over, I think it was Ken Evelyn's coat was hanging there at the coat check, but Ken could not find his ticket, and they were refusing to give him the coat, notwithstanding the coat was there and he could identify his coat. And my dad said he just jumped over and grabbed the coat and tell the guy, you're doing foolishness, so you expect the man to go out in winter without his coat. And he reminded me of that story and said that the others thought that he was quite reckless to do that, of course, in white Mother England at the time. But there were a group of people who I think were the best that this island and this country had to offer. A group of people who were brave, who took that step to go to England when they had no idea what England was. They had no idea what a winter was. They had no idea what snow was. And they just boarded a ship. And this is why when I had the opportunity, I was so passionate about this so-called Windrush generation, of which people like Mr. Roach and my dad and others were members, because they paved the way, going to a distant place, a distant land. And so when we went years later and the British government had taken policies which were hostile to them, we fought, and I was very happy. And I hope when the history is written that people like High Commissioner Dr. Kevin Isaac and High Commissioner Guy Hewitt from Barbados, that they will be remembered kindly for their part in this. And so my condolences certainly to the family of Mr. Roach, children, his grandchildren, his entire family. I think that he lived a beautiful life, and may we all pattern our lives after him. And so farewell, Mr. Roach, and I pray that you and my dad are somewhere now reminiscing together. Ladies and gentlemen, the show is drawing to a close, but before the show closes, let me just share a bit of information. For those who are seeking a visa to go to Canada, the Canadian government is saying that its officials will be in St. Kitts and Nevis to collect your biometrics, your fingerprints, etc. And they will be in St. Kitts and Nevis on Friday, September 15th and Saturday, September 16th. So what you do, you go online and you apply, and then you're able to go when they're here and just let them take your fingerprints and all of that. Now that is important because the visa-free arrangement that Canada has announced is for those who have had a Canadian visa within the last 10 years or those that have a US visa. And so your opportunity now is to get that visa. Thereafter, you won't need it anymore because we have had the visa-free reinstituted subject to those conditions. And so this is an example of something we were able to achieve. And I feel quite proud because I was the minister and it was the team led by Her Excellency Sherry Truss in Canada that pushed for this position that Canada should come, since they impose visas on us, they should come to us to collect the biometrics, and so that our people will not need to travel to Trinidad or to Barbados. And the Canadian government was resistant at first, but we kept at it. I remember going to what they call Parliament Hill, I think it is called, and meeting with a number of parliamentarians and the Speaker of the Parliament there, pressing the case for St. Kitts and Nevis's visa-free restoration. And if that could not happen immediately, that Canada took the responsibility of coming to us to collect the biometrics. We kept pushing even though they were resistant at first, and eventually they saw the wisdom in it. And other islands and countries in the Caribbean benefited. But that was our initiative. And today when I saw the announcement that Canadians were coming to collect biometrics, I say, you see, that's what happens when you have people who are committed to service and who do and take the decisions and do the work necessary to achieve results. Our people are now the beneficiaries. So again, the Canadian authorities will be here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and they will be taking your biometrics for your visa applications on September 15th, Friday, and Saturday, September 16th. So just around the Independence time, they're coming, and I am saying to us who are looking to get a Canadian visa to go ahead and apply, and you don't have to travel anywhere because they're coming to you to collect your biometrics. This was one of the diplomatic successes that we would have had when I was privileged to lead the team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And these are the things now. See, I'm no longer there, but the people are still benefiting. And that, I think, is what is important. A gentleman called in earlier and talked about legacy. That is part of legacy. When you could have results that benefit generations to come. That, I think, is critically important. It is 1 minute to the hour of 10 o'clock. It means that we will shortly end the show. I just want to thank all of those who called, all of those who were part of the show. I know we had distractions tonight because CPL is happening. I want to encourage Divisions and Kittitians to go out and support the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, support the games. It is very important for sport and, of course, sport tourism. I want to thank the Patriots. They have an excellent partnership that they forged with the Nevis Tourism Authority, and I believe that Nevisians will be pleased to see that the Patriots are truly national. They have the Nevis logo on their arm, etc., and they will be going out there and promoting the country. Our name and our country will be out there for millions of people to see as people tune in from across the globe to watch the Caribbean Premier League. So, let us rally with our Patriots, SKN Patriots. Let us win it this year for our 40th year of our independence. The St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, that's our team. That's our show. We see you tomorrow at the Parliament here in Nevis at 10 a.m. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or